Well, it's been a week now since Oliver Anthony's Men North of Richmond took the world by storm, and it is continuing to piss off all the right people, and it's just beautiful. Let's dig in. Hey folks, Mark here with The Rational Workforce. Thanks so much for stopping by and tuning in. Really appreciate you checking out the channel and appreciate you clicking subscribe, sharing it with your friends, and doing all that fun stuff. We're growing and I love it, and I couldn't be more appreciative. So thank you for that. So, in case you may have been living under a rock for the past week, Oliver Anthony, just an incredible raw musician, put out his song Men North of Richmond. And lyrically, musically, authenticity, you name it, it ticks all the boxes. It's absolutely blowing up across social media in particular, and now even iTunes and Spotify and all the typical outlets and ways that you consume music today. It's just blowing up there too, and it couldn't be cooler. And this hits on so many different dimensions that I think it's worth talking about, right? Like this channel is typically about workplace issues and how pop culture impacts the workforce, but this is a little bit outside the scope of what we usually cover, but I think it's well worth talking about because there are so many of us that are in the workforce that can absolutely relate to this song. And I think it's very, very telling the way the media is playing it up, and we'll dig into that in a minute. But I think one of the reasons why this is catching, a lot of folks in Gen X, my generation, is we used to have this incredible joy, like when you discover a musician, right? We didn't have streaming services. We didn't have the ability to pick and choose songs unless we bought single cassettes or 45s or whatever. And this kind of just popped up out of nowhere. And for me, a lifelong passionate music fan, this gave me that same, what is this thrill that you would get by going to a club and seeing a local act perform, or having a friend give you a mixtape and saying, check this stuff out. It just came out of nowhere, and it is such a great track that I love that it kind of rekindled that kind of passion and that kind of sense of discovery in a way that I don't think a lot of outlets allow you to have. But the most important thing about it is that, if you look at the lyrics, it just talks about frustrations and concerns that so many of us are going through right now. And for some reason, I do understand it, but I don't know how we got here societally. But there are so many media outlets that are just hell-bent on tearing him down. And I think that this song, as we're seeing in pockets, and I'm going to show you a video before we wrap up, has such an incredible unifying function behind it, and reminds us that for all of our differences, for all of the different ways that social media likes to put us into groups and push us against each other, we have so much more in common than we do that sets us apart. But let's get into it. Let's take a look at how different media outlets are covering it. So this is Whiskey Riff. They cover largely kind of what's going on in country music. And I mean, this headline says it all. Oliver Anthony reaches #1 spot on U.S. iTunes chart with powerful blue-collar anthem, Men North of Richmond. And check this out. This is great writing. It's incredible what the power of a good, honest, authentic country song can do. Over the last day or so, Virginia native Oliver Anthony has gone mega viral on social media with his powerful blue-collar anthem, Men North of Richmond. Radio WV shared a raw acoustic video of the song a couple days ago, which quickly gained traction on social media and has become one of, if not the most listened to tracks in the world in the last 24 hours. Straight up, that's the description of the phenomenon. It's an apt description of the song. But now let's start to take a look at how something like this got politicized. So, Washington Post, it's an opinion column, granted, this isn't reporting. So for those of you who don't know, there's reporters who ostensibly bring you stories that are devoid of slant. That shit's gone out the window these days. But opinion, at least they're branding it up front as this is one person's opinion. But the headlines and the content of the story is emblematic of the way most media outlets are treating this. Why the right suddenly loves viral country singer Oliver Anthony. Ever since the video of Oliver Anthony belting out his latest song went viral, Republican politicians have hailed it as a cry of protest from the raw heart of blue-collar right-wing America. In their telling, the song captures the sufferings and indignities inflicted on the working class by the elites described in the title, Rich Men North of Richmond. And it just goes on to talk about, how this is ostensibly just a right-wing anthem. Now, just on its face, why blue-collar protest songs are now suddenly hailed as right-wing, I think that's something that's worth thinking about, right? Like, if you remember or if you look into it, kind of the older protest songs and things of that nature were typically viewed as, left, hippies, supporting the common man. And, I'm old enough to remember Rage Against the Machine taking over Wall Street and Truth to Power. Now Rage Against the Machine makes sure you can't go into their show unless you show, proper paperwork that you've been vaccinated. So it's amazing to see how things turn around. But now suddenly sticking up for blue-collar workers is an exclusively right-wing thing. And not only just right-wing, but far-right. So let's see what some of the other publications have to say. NBC News, apparently not labeled opinion. How an obscure country artist viral song became a conservative anthem. Oliver Anthony's Rich Men North of Richmond shot to the top of the U.S. Apple Music and iTunes country charts and racked up more than 9 million views in 5 days. Okay, accurate. Conservatives and far-right pundits are rallying around a new country song from a relatively unknown artist that went viral online after appearing on YouTube last week. And again, kind of goes into deeper descriptions like this is great, right? The song's lyrics, a soulful expression of working class frustrations while tearing into wealthy Washington elites, have made it an anti-establishment anthem, especially among blue-collar workers. But again, why is this an exclusively now right-wing virtue, right? That's sticking up for people that aren't knowledge workers and put on a tie and go to the office every day, or now sit in their home behind a Zoom camera, like myself and a lot of us do. Why is that being pegged as a uniquely right-wing kind of extremist thing? BBC, so we've got other countries getting into the act. Rich Men North of Richmond, the hit song that divided the U.S. It's became a huge viral hit and the latest in a series of cultural flashpoints that reflect a deeply divided America. Okay, accurate. You got me. I'm interested. In the culture wars that continue to divide U.S. politics, the right wing may have found its latest hero in Oliver Anthony. So again, right wing, right? Apparently, if you think taxes are high and people are working their ass off for less money and the money's not going as far as it needs to go, and some of the other topics that this covers around anxiety and depression and how it's impacting men and women, but the song leans probably, I think, a little more on men's side of the equation. Like, why is that a political divide? Here's my favorite. This is Rolling Stone, right? So Rolling Stone has just become a parody of itself. You've got this paper, right? You've got, this song. You've got this magazine that covers this industry. It is an absolute phenomenon in how quickly this has taken off and how much, Oliver Anthony has risen to fame. But what does Rolling Stone do? It's a right-wing influencer, is the headline on this one. And we just found our favorite new country song. In Rich Men North of Richmond, a singing farmer in Virginia blasts high taxes and obese people on welfare, and even appears to allude to Jeffrey Epstein. And then, again, it just digs into the right-wing influencers are losing their mind. And, this is Rolling Stone. And, I don't know about you, but I'm old enough to remember when Rolling Stone was, a magazine that maybe actually covered things that were going on in the music industry without necessarily the political bullshit. And over the years, we've seen it drift increasingly that way. And I feel like it's a music publication second. And it is a, kind of homage to left-leaning thinking primarily. But again, if you think about this song, if you think about the lyrics, you think about what's covered and how heartfully it's delivered, this cuts across absolutely all political lines. And I just want to share with you, you may have seen this, but this is courtesy of a YouTuber or a Twitter account, Matt or Thalia. And just check this out. I'm going to bring the audio up on this one. You tell me if this looks like exclusively right-wing or maybe a different
You know, but I know that you do, 'cause your dollar ain't shit, and it's taxed to no end.
Okay.
Those are rich men, those are rich men.
Oh, this is true. Tell 'em, buddy.
Some of us can't say what we absolutely know is true, and he's articulating it.
I wish politicians would look out for minors, and not just minors on an island somewhere. Lord, we got folks in the street, ain't got nothing to eat, and the obese milking welfare. God, if you're 5'3" and you're 300 pounds, taxes ought not to pay for your bags of
you can go search that out. Twitter yourself, and again, thanks to Matt or Thalia. Hope I'm pronouncing your last name correctly. For bringing us this montage that shows how this is really just cutting across every line that the media and that it feels like society in general tries to put you into buckets and pit one person after another. And, you know, I just think I would love to see us look more at the universals like this that kind of bring people together. We're living in tough times right now, and you can spin things however you want them. And it's inescapable that people are feeling challenges out there, right? That your dollar's not going as far as a lot of people struggling. This tapped into that, and it should not be a political issue. And for our employers, I think it's important to know too that, you know, some of the moves that a lot of employers have been making that kind of play into these deeper seated artificial camps that we create, that we throw people into. The more that you come out as an employer and reinforce that, the deeper you're digging those trenches between individuals. Stuff like this gives me hope that despite the best efforts, for whatever reason, intentional or unintentional, and believe me, folks on the right side of the aisle absolutely do this too. Take a look at the Republican presidential hopefuls and the infighting that's going on the right and the camps that are being built. Like, this is a universal concern, but I see stuff like this and it gives me hope that individuals, that people kind of see through it, and there are things that can galvanize us together. And not surprisingly, music and the arts is at the forefront of that. So thank you once again for tuning into the show. I appreciate you coming by and checking it out. I would love it if you would ring the bell, click subscribe, do all the things that help us grow. Every episode, I get that backwards from the graphic. I don't know, now it's kind of a thing, right? But anyway, I really appreciate you coming by. I would love to hear what you think about this song. How does it move you? Do you see it through exclusively political lenses, or do you think this is something that unites us all together? Would really love your opinion. And with that, we're going to sign off. We'll catch you on the next one. Thanks so much for tuning in. See you, folks.